Hello and welcome back to the Eagles channel. In this discussion, I'm going to be sharing with us how budgeting and forecasting saved me 13 million naira back in 2009 when I was working on starting my three-packed computer firm. Now, I had planned to, in the same building, I had planned on starting up a company with IT training, IT consulting, and desktop publishing, and a cyber cafe, right? Now, but before I start, let me tell you first of all how I came across the cash flow document far back in 2001. Okay, now if you watched my previous video, I shared with us how I managed a big cafe in the city of Port Harcourt. Now, during that time, a bank came to me and presented a cash flow document with every detail of the entire costing of setting up a big company, and I also require having my own cafe and other businesses. Now, they had prepared this cash flow with a entire list and all that are involved in it. But looking at the cost then, far back 2001 to be precise, it was about 15 million naira, and that was huge. But I didn't know. I thought that is what I needed to start up my business then. But remember, I was still working though, and I was also nursing the idea of running a bakery. But the bakery was of higher priority to this because this one needed more money. Okay, so when I resigned from the cafe, also ran my bakery, I didn't consider this cash flow. But sometime in 2009, when I resigned from, I think the third company I worked for, or the fourth company, yeah, I made up my mind to fully set up a bigger IT company, right? I had resigned from last company in March 2009. Now, the what I'm going to share with us now is a story for another day. I resigned in March 2009. I had no company I was working for. I just needed to go out of the comfort of working for somebody and then focus on starting my own fully, right? Now, there has no job, no company before me, no job before me, and I was married. I needed to get up, I'm doing something. But like I said, I also needed to leave where I was because I was too confined and too comfortable, So for me to really achieve my dream as a full-time entrepreneur, I had to leave my comfort zone, right? So one of the lessons there is to confront your fears. Confront your fears. Many of you out there, you are dwelling in your comfort zone. And even if you're earning millions right now, but that is not where you're supposed to be. But fear is preventing you from stepping out. Fear is preventing you from stepping out. You have the capacity to run your own company. You have the ability. You have the knowledge. You have the intellectual properties, capital you need, right? Yes, I call it capital. Just like you call money capital, intellectual intellect is also capital, right? You have everything, but the only thing I believe right now you're lacking that is still keeping you where you are is fear. You've not developed the courage to step out. You've not developed the courage to step out. Besides, you can even be where you are working and also start your company and then grow it to a point where it needs your full attention. You don't need to stay and be afraid of what if it fails? What if it succeeds? What if it exceeds your expectation? Remember, but eventually you don't believe in the Bible, but let me just share with us. The Bible said our God, Ephesians 3:20, is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above Not just what we ask, but what we imagine. Is able to do exceedingly abundantly, threefold, exceedingly abundantly above all, not some, all we ask and imagine. But you need to have him inside of you. So when you confine yourself in that comfort zone where you are earning the billions and what have you, you limit yourself from gaining more inspiration, gaining more knowledge. Do you know that, another lesson again now, do you know that when you break out and start working on your own, things you think you will never know begin to come your way? This single knowledge or that single idea or that single skill you have will open doors, not just doors, will open doors to other skills. It will cause you to leverage on a number of things you think you do not have. To make you to see the unseen, right? It will make you to see the unseen, know the unknown, meet people you least expected, increase your network. But you are afraid. You are afraid. Okay, just assume you are afraid, but you have the capacity, you have the zeal, you have what it is to run. Why don't you stay where you are and then start up this other company? And then when you see that it now needs your 100% attention, then you can resign. But don't just sit down there and be hoping and wishing one day you will start. No. If you have worked for at least 3 to 5 years, after the 5th year, start planning. Okay, so I go back to my story, right? Now, when in 2009, after I resigned in March, I had no job, but I had something, social capital. Remember also I told you that in my previous video that a friend recommended me to an EU, federal government EU based project, and I began providing IT services to them. But as at 2009, they had ended the core project, right? So that my earnings has also stopped, right? Now, that same lady recommended me to another big-time consultant. And I was in June, I believe. Remember, I resigned in March. So April, there was no inflow at all. May, there was no inflow, right? In fact, the magazine printing, the technology magazine printing I was producing rather, when I was still working, had issues. I overprinted beyond, and the sale was so poor that I had several magazines left that couldn't be sold for that particular month, and the vendors returned back a lot. So I had a down loss, right? Now, in June ending, I had this recommendation to this company, and fortunately for me, they signed me in. Again, I didn't bid for the job. I didn't ask for the job. I did not apply for the job. I didn't even know the owner of the company. But what? Social capital, relationship. I knew someone who knew someone, right? I was low. The person I knew was high, and she also had someone that was high who needed an IT service provider, a software developer, in fact. So I got connected, right? And that was it. Just in less than a week, I got my first 1 million check. Now remember, where I was working, my entire year's salary wasn't up to 1 million. Okay, it wasn't up to 1 million, but in just few days of discussion, 1 million was before me, right? My fears, but that was not fear, because I had already made up my mind whether fear like it or not, I'm already a success. I was already a success, right? Now, that was the beginning of another phase of my life. Okay, so I went back. I said, okay, now I can't just grab this money and use it like that. I had to invest it in something else that will be bringing in money while I'm also working on this project. So I went back to the cash flow document that was given to me in 2001, right? It was in Excel. I brought it up, looked at it again, and I saw it was still 15 million. I told myself, no, 15 million is too much for me. It's been too much since 2001, and now I have to do something about it. So I began to study the cash flow document and the entire, listen, I realized that there was so much in that list, budget list, that I didn't need. There were so much that were not necessary. Remember, when you are starting a business, even if you have prepared your list and have so much, it's not everything in that list that you need to start up. You need to start small so your learning curve, because even though, yes, you may have managed that very business. Remember, when you are managing that business, it was not yours. So there are certain burden that the owner was taking that you didn't even know of, right? How he was doing it, he didn't tell you. So you just found out he was doing it, but you didn't know how far he was going to make sure that area of the business was taken care of. Now you are the owner. Now you have come to do, you are doing HR, maybe you don't know. As the owner of a business, you do HR, you do accounting, you do customer service, you do virtually everything, right? So your learning curve as a business owner needs to be very, very low. Very, very low. So that is why you need to start small, right? Start small, get the few equipment you need that will enable the business kick off, right? So I began to remove all unnecessary items from my list. I made a copy, actually. I made a copy and then took one and knocked off everything I didn't need to start with. Everything. And guess what? What I had left was enough to start my cafe, was enough to start my consulting and graphics office, was also enough to start my computer training office. Now, in the cafe, I had 10 systems, but guess what? They were not as in full desktop. What did I go for? Instead of buying 10 full desktop, I went for what is called Thin Client. Thin Client are small devices, right, that has a little, now this they have OS, then they were running on the OS of the server, right? So I bought one server that has a monitor of its own, and then 10 Thin Clients. So the Thin Clients were clamped at the back of the monitor, but their OS, they were running on the OS of the server. So 10 Thin Clients that was serving as the desktops, right? They had each of them had a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse. So with that Thin Client, I saved myself a lot of money. I would have spent buying 10 full desktop. I also saved myself a lot of money that instead of buying 10 or rather 11 antivirus and 11 softwares, I only bought for one software, one system, which was the server, and then the 10 clients leverage on that antivirus and all other softwares that was installed in the server, right? Because once you run it in there, each Thin Client has an access. So it was like having client server system. So the Thin Client were serving as client while the server was there as a server, right? So remember, I had to use the cash flow, the budgeting to list all of this, got a cost, imported them from China, and began using. Then for the training center, which also had, I think, about 10 to 12 computers, that I went for a fairly used. I also saved myself a huge amount of money, right? Instead of going for all new pieces. Then for the consulting and desktop, I only had 2 computers there, right? So I'm saying this to say, But eventually you are, okay, my rent and everything was also cut down because instead of going for a duplex of mine, I rented a space that had three stretch offices together. So, and I paid for all at once because they had interconnecting doors, right? And I saved myself a lot of money, right? So eventually, how much did I invest to start the entire business? 1.9 million. 1.9 million. From 15 million to 1.9 million. So you see the power of cash flow? You need to first understand the business you want to go into. Understand all that is involved in it. Know the least item you need. Understand it, and then if you have the revenue, fine, you buy the equipment. But if you don't, then you leverage. You leverage. You can go into partnership, depending on the kind of business you want. If it really requires that you have a core equipment, you can go into partnership, right? Okay, this is my space, but I need this and this and this to work with. Can I pay part and start using, right? Every month, you go into agreement. Be zealous, be zealous, take risk. Business is about risk. In fact, God wants you to take that risk because He needs to. He needs you to trust Him and also to trust Him in you. Okay, so I mean, as I did this, it helped me. So I'm advising you for whatever business you are going into, even if you are running it from your house. Remember, the laptop you bought is not just a mere device. You have to pay back the resources using buying that laptop. The furniture you made in your separate room, whatever it is you bought to do all of that, you have to pay them back. So with the cash flow, you determine how long you spread the fund you invested in buying all those equipment, right? And if maybe you also run ads and all the rest of them, whatever it is, but get them down. Now add them to your forecast, right? But eventually you need maybe you don't know how to prepare a forecast and you need help. Okay, you can sign on to my software, bizrun2.com, bizrun2.com, and use startup and capital CapEx module to prepare your budgeting list. And then as your business begins to run, you can also use depending on the kind of business. If you're into services, use the services module to capture all your inflow. If you are into sales, use the sales module to capture all your inflow. If you're in both, you can also use the sales services to also capture your inflow, right? Now, don't ask me whether it is free or not. You can sign in for 30 days, and if it's okay with you, you can pay whatever it is. Right now, there's no fee on it, but maybe by the time you'll be watching this video, there might be a fee, a subscription fee, right? But don't be scared. It won't go below $2 to $3 per month, right? So don't be scared. So, but I'm telling you that you need to have a budgeting and a cash flow forecast in place before you start your business, because there's a lot to gain in it. It will take away the burden of what next do I buy, and you're memorizing the number. When you have them listed out, you know the ones you've bought, you strike them off, and then you also have a cost, a total of what you spent, and then a breakdown, a 3-year breakdown of how you're going to pay back all of this. And the system will be doing as we put them down, also put your inflow, which is your revenue and your expenses. The system will do the rest of the calculation for you. Okay. So finally, do not neglect budgeting and cash flow in your business. They are key resources to work with, right? So thank you, and see you in the next video.